Okay, here we are moving on with defensive line, and we have Mr. Ray Moon, head coach of the South Delta football team in BC here, and defensive line coach for Team BC. Also was named Orange Helmet Scholastic Coach of the Year this year, 2013, and he's going to talk a little bit about drills for the defensive line. You have one drill, your first drill. What's that going to consist of?
Well, our first drill, we're going to look at getting the players to fire off as fast as they can under control, and then what we're going to do is have them change direction as if the ball is going one way or another to see whether they can break and get themselves into an angle of pursuit so that they can help track down the ball carrier.
Excellent. And we're going to progress from there into a second drill. And what's that one going to be?
Well, one of our drills is we're looking at reads. We're going to have the lineman line up across from a partner, and then we're going to do a shoulder read. So when the lineman, offensive lineman turns his shoulder one way or another, it will indicate what a possible block is coming, like a reach block or a down block, pass, slow block, or just a drive block, and see if they can react. Because what we want is to have the defensive lineman read the offensive lineman and not be staring in the backfield.
Excellent. And we're going to move on to a third drill with the defensive line. And that first drill today?
We call it figure eight with a rabbit. So we've got two loops with one of the D linemen approximately 2.5 yards in front. So we ask the two of them to fire off going around loops. The idea of going around loops is so that they drop their shoulders. So if we're going into a stunt or a blitz trying to get into another gap, we're trying to get under the offensive line. The idea of the rabbit is so that they can have an understanding of urgency of moving and trying to catch the guy. A little bit of a game, I guess you could.
Competitive.
Yeah,
excellent.
So they can get around and go, and the kids kind of enjoy that one.
Awesome.
Okay. So remember, we're getting off, movement of the foot, movement of the foot. Ready, set, hut, hut.
Okay, is the key thing here, Dino, these guys staying low out of their burst?
Yeah, exactly. Getting comfortable in their stance and being able to explode out of their stance. Yeah, exactly. And then the added component of just changing direction after they make their initial penetration.
I guess the one thing that you don't want to see is guys immediately standing up as they're coming out of the stance. And we've seen that in a couple of cases here.
Yes, so exactly. We want them to stay low because the offensive lineman is going to be inches to contact, so we want to make sure they're making contact with leverage and they're not raising their pad level.
Is there any difference on the defensive side of the ball between training your guys for Canadian ball versus American ball with the yard off the ball?
It's more a matter of getting used to, but really the drill is good no matter which D-line you're working with. They're going to work on get-off, they're going to work on pad level, they're going to work on change of direction. So regardless of the defensive line, they're still going to work these fundamentals.
They're going to work on change of direction. So regardless of...
Okay, relax for a second, guys. Different hand. Let's work if you were a right-hand stance. Okay, now we're going to go to a left-hand stance, okay?
Studying opponents that
okay, everybody good?
Let's go. But with these basic fundamentals, you want defensive linemen getting off.
Oh, we're standing up, all of us. We change hands, all of a sudden we're standing up.
To hear Coach Moon talking about standing up, how can you train players out of standing up, especially after doing a number of reps at a drill like this?
Well, one of the things we don't have here today, but is a chute, which is very much like a cage. So we would put that right. They would stand right at one end of the chute and fire out through the chute. And if they stood up a little early, then they'd get their head hit by the iron bar that's in the chute. So we don't have a chute here today, but that's one way that we try to rep out the defensive line and making sure that they keep their pad.
Spread up, pair up, somebody similar height and weight, In fact, one line here facing the field, the other line here facing the Richmond Center, the building. Okay, let's go, guys. Pair up. Spread it out, pair it up.
Okay, what fundamental are we trying to build on here?
Working from their stance again, keeping the eyes on the shoulder of the offensive lineman for an initial read so that they can react to the type of block they're going to be facing. focus is getting hands on that shoulder of the offensive lineman, but really more inside his chest plate, and making sure that we get off with power and leverage.
And once again, this is part of what would be a daily drill package, I would assume, for any coach at the minor level.
Yeah, absolutely. Getting your defensive linemen, reading those offensive linemen constantly, and you're really tapping into the muscle memory of the defensive lineman. And so it becomes, we're talking about read, but really by the time you get to the game, hopefully you've done it enough time that it is not as much a read as just a reaction.
I think a lot of people don't understand how important repetition is in this game at every position, but at the defense and offensive line positions, how important is repetition?
Repetition needs to be done. And again, it's tapping into that muscle memory because they're so fundamental. We're talking about big people trying to move each other and get their job done. So every little angle, their bend in the hip, their bend in their knees, ankles, elbows, their aiming points are so critical that you're not going to be able to develop the technique and the fundamental unless they are constantly repping it out, being corrected, and feeling how it feels to aim properly and put their hands in the right place.
Figure eight, around, and through. Clear the area going through. Ready, set, hut. Dip that shoulder, come on, let's go.
Okay, explain this, because this actually puts, I hate to say this, the fun in fundamentals.
Yeah, it's, anytime you get, it's a game of tag, really, and anytime you introduce that element of competition, it adds a little bit more effort and building the defensive lineman's relentlessness.
You want to get bellying way out as you're finishing. The idea is to drop the shoulder as if you're going in for, remember, we're going in for a stunt, we're turning around trying to, boom, come in, we're dipping that shoulder so we can come across. That's the idea. Get this low, the lower the shoulder, the tighter you can make the turn. Ready, set, go.
It's taking the stance, forcing them to come out with good explosiveness and keeping their feet moving, low body lean around the corners, making sure they're nice and low around the corners as they try to touch the player in front of them or grab the player in front of them.
Absolutely. You can do it in a square.